Okay, picking up our Bible study, we're in Genesis chapter 8, we're at verse 6. We're continuing our Noah story. Actually, we'll finish it today. And we left off with the ark had come to rest upon the mountain of Ararat. And the water's gone down some. What we want to find out is it gone down far enough for us to be able to actually come out and find enough land to start over now that everybody else has been drowned. Okay. So we're in chapter 8, verse 6. It says, at the end of 40 days, 40 is one of those magic numbers, by the way. Remember Jesus in the wilderness, 40 days. 40 and 7 and 3 are the so-called magic numbers. There are people who spend their whole lives studying the numbers in the Bible, trying to find some kind of secret knowledge. Help yourself. Okay. So chapter 8, verse 6. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven, and it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. I bet most of you didn't even know about the raven, because we all know about the dove. Every little cartoon or story you've ever seen, about Noah, it's always the dove that goes out. The dove is going to go out, but a raven went out first. I wonder if there's any significance to the raven being black and the dove being white. Black and white, opposites. Who knows? Anyway. So sent forth a raven, it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. It didn't say that he came back. I don't know where, maybe the bird found some place to stay. Then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground, but the dove found no place to set her foot, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So I don't even know what to say about the raven. Why would we why would we talk about a raven and then a dove? Because, get ready, I'm going to put a little note here. Remember, I tell you, all these great stories are based on other ancient stories, particularly the Babylonian stories, because when this was put together, probably the Bible was put together when the people of Israel were in exile in Babylon, okay? And so they took a lot of those ancient Babylonian stories and changed them a little bit to fit into the Judeo-Christian story. And in the Babylonian story, in that flood account, when the waters were receding, the hero of that story sent out two birds. And so Noah sending out two birds. A raven, don't know what happened to the raven. The dove goes and comes back. All right. So he put forth his hand, took her and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days. There's another magic number. And again he sent forth the dove out of the ark, and the dove came back to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew the waters had subsided from the earth, and he waited another 7 days, sent forth the dove, and she didn't come back. Which, Noah takes to mean that there's enough vegetation now and enough dry land. This dove can find a place to land and eat. I don't know why the dove couldn't do that before. If there's an olive tree that she could take a leaf from, then obviously there'd been a place to stay. But at any rate, Noah's thinking, okay, we can. It's dry here, and it looks like it's dry everywhere. At least dry far enough for us to be able to get out. Don't you imagine they're ready to get out of that ark with all those animals, the stink, the noise? Oh my God. Verse 13, in the 601st year, in the first month, first day of the month, the waters were dry off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark. Wow, they've been stuck in, closed in that boat all that time. And looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, go forth from the ark, you and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And if God says we can go, that means we can go. Bring forth with you every living thing that is with you, and all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. The idea here is that, and of course it's a story. People talk about, well, the Bible's literally true. How could it possibly be literally true that any boat would be big enough to hold 2 of every living thing on earth. How would Noah even catch all that stuff in the first place? How was Noah going to catch a lion? Really? Lion, come over in the, bring your girlfriend too, it'll be okay. That's not happening. Mm-mm. But it's a great story. The power lays in the meaning of the myth, not in arguing about how could that possibly have happened. All right, so we got all these, and then look what God says, that they may breed abundantly on the earth and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. In other words, God's is risking it. We're going to start over. Got all living things, birds, animals, insects. We're going to try it again. So Noah went forth, and his wives, and his sons, and his wife, and the sons' wives with him, and every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves upon the earth, went forth by families out of the ark. And of course, it makes perfect sense that they would spread out. You don't want you don't want the lions and the lambs going out together. That'd be a bad idea. So everybody's spreading out, covering the earth again with life. Verse 20, then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Remember, I tell you, that's why. Remember, remember early in the story, Noah was told, bring in clean animals, okay, as well as all the others, for this right here. So that when we got back to land and we had to make our sacrifice, we would have clean animals to sacrifice. The interesting thing, of course, is that in the story, the idea of sacrificing clean versus unclean animals, that doesn't come for a long, long time. We don't get the law about sacrifice until the Exodus. That's in the story. But whoever put this Bible together knew the story, okay? And so we get the clean animal distinction here at the very, very beginning, even though there's nothing we've read so far has said anything about how do you tell a clean animal from an unclean animal. That's later on, in Leviticus and those books back then when we get all the detail about which animals used for which sort of sacrifices and what the sacrifices mean, etc., etc. All right. Verse 21. When the Lord smelled the pleasing odor, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. So God has kind of given up. Okay. God realizes if I'm going to expect these human beings to be like me, I might as well just stop right now. It's not going to happen. I see how they are. They're horrible. We're horrible. Everything in our heart's evil from our youth. And God's just going to have to put up with us. And we can say back to God, well, God, guess what? You made us in the first place. So if you didn't like it this way, you should have made us differently. Okay. But that's not the way it is. And you notice, we've been already seeing all this anthropomorphizing of God, God walking with Adam and Eve and talking and getting angry. And now we have God smelling the burnt offering. No, what are we doing? We're making God in our own image, of course. What's those saying? God made humans in God's own image, and we return the favor. We made God in our image, of course. The great, the old bearded white-headed white guy in the sky. No, it's absurd. But it's, in your own prayer life, when we pray, it's hard to pray to nothing, isn't it? We need some kind of image. What am I praying to? It's not like I'm praying to a little statue, but it's awfully hard just to pray to space. And so we have all this this description of God looking like a big giant person in the sky. But again, okay. So God says, I'm never going to do it again. I'm never going to curse the ground because of humans, because they're just bad from the very beginning, and that's just something I'm going to have to live with. Help them as best I can. Continuing on, neither will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. That little phrase is kind of passed over, while the earth remains. What is that kind of presuming? that there might be a time when the earth does not remain. Okay? And given what we're doing to the earth, with climate and everything right now, we're well on our way to the earth not remaining. But even these ancient peoples realized that there might be a time when the earth is not here. Okay, but as long as it is, God is saying the season is going to be here: cold, heat, summer, winter, harvest, etc., night and day, going to continue, so life can continue. Now, chapter 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." In other words, the first blessing in the Bible, given back in Genesis 1, is now repeated to Noah, because Noah and them are the only humans now. But clearly, the first blessing: be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. I think I told you last time. Let me repeat it. When this Bible was put together, most scholars think it was done by Ezra, either right before or during the return from exile from Babylon, and when the returning Israelites came back, and it wasn't the whole nation either. A lot of people stayed in Babylon. It was a nice life, but enough came back to start to put things back together. Well, when they came back, there were people living there. Okay, and the idea is we can't outfight them, so we're going to what? We're going to outbreed them. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the land, push them out. Okay, verse 2. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth. This is way different from the first account of creation, when we were supposed to live in harmony. Remember that? Got this garden. Nobody's eating anybody. Human beings are only eating plants. Okay, animals only eating plants. There's none of this terror or domination. Well, God has realized that's just not going to work. We can't do it. We can't do it. So God is going to put us at the top of the food chain. The weakest creature. Okay, all right. We're not as strong or fast or ferocious as as the animals would be our natural predators, like lions and sharks, for example. But God is putting us at the top of the food chain. And why are we at the top of the food chain? Because of self-consciousness and because of language. And we'll get to language later. All right. So the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, upon every bird of the air, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the flesh of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. So all animal life. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. So now, eat meat. Eat the plants too. Any meat you want to eat, eat it. Only thing, verse 4, only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Why? Because blood is life. And who owns life? God. God. So you got to get the blood out. Okay? This is what kosher butchering is all about. Okay? For your lifeblood I will surely require a reckoning, and of every beast I will require, and of man, and of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. Well, there's your one sentence that justifies, if you want to justify it biblically, capital punishment right there. Okay? If you kill somebody, we're going to kill you. Very simple. I'll tell you why that's actually an improvement in just a minute. And why is this? For God made man in his own image. In other words, human life is what? Divine. It's sacred, every life. And if somebody takes it, there's going to be a cost. Okay. And you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly on the earth and multiply. So so twice in 7 verses, be fruitful and multiply. Now, so why would I say that? And we get into this much more specifically with the giving of the law, and when Jesus, the eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, that sort of thing. Modern people hear that and say that sounds so gruesome. Well, let me tell you how it was before that. Okay, here's the way it was. It was in in what we call primitive times. If you kill, for example, if you kill my wife, guess what? I'm gonna kill your whole family. Or if I can, I'm gonna get my buzz together, and we're gonna kill your whole village. How about that? Okay. So God's saying 1 for 1 is a great improvement over 1 for 100 or 100 for 1. All right. All right, now verse 8. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your descendants after you. This is the new covenant. And with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, every beast of the earth with you, as many as come out of the ark, I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. I know you've heard this probably colloquially. Fire next time. God is promising no more floods. God doesn't say anything about fire. we, hope, we hope there's not fire next time. But anyway, but no more floods. Okay. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. In other words, rainbow. Every time you see a rainbow, you say, Thank you, God, for not covering the earth with water. Now, of course, if you're living on the coast, you may have some concerns there with rising tides and rising sea levels. Verse 14, when I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I'll remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will look upon it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign, the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. I think from verse 8 to verse 17, I think covenant said like 8 times, maybe 9. Said a lot. God wants us to realize, I'm making a promise. I'm not going to wipe out humanity again like I did. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Because God is realizing whatever. There's no point. There's no point. Okay? We are who we are. We are the way we are. We are self-centered creatures, and we can't be otherwise. And we have evil imaginings in our hearts from the very, very beginning. Okay, let me just finish this before we get to chapter 10. I'll finish this a little bit here. All right, verse 18. The sons of Noah who went forth in the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Remember, the Canaanites were the great enemies of Israel. Keep that in mind. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. Well, of course, not literally, but that's the idea. Noah was the first tiller of the soil. He planted a vineyard. First thing we do when we get out of the ark is what? We plant a vineyard so we can get some wine. First thing we do, okay? And he drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of naked, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brothers outside. Bad, bad sin. There's a lot of speculation about exactly what is going on in this verse. Was Noah drunk and just passed out naked and his son saw him? Surely they've seen each other naked before, okay? Or something more serious, does this indicate some sort of sexual contact between Noah and his son, in some kind of drunken stupor? And that's been postulated. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it upon both their shoulders. Oh, they both were naked. See that? And walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away. They did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what the youngest son had done to him. Say, done to him. So what, did his son go in and do something to him? Maybe sexually while Noah was passed out drunk? Read it however you want to. He said, Cursed be Canaan. A slave of slaves shall he be to his brothers. In other words, here we have the biblical justification for the Canaanites being the enemies and, according to God, being the slaves of the Israelites. Why is that important today? Because what's another name for Canaanites today? Palestinians. Palestinians. When Israel repopulated, when When the Jews came back to the land of Israel in 1948, do you think that land was empty? No, no. It was filled up. It had been filled up for hundreds and hundreds of years with Canaanites, okay, Palestinians, and they were forced out violently with guns. And you wonder why they're still fighting. Verse 26. He also said, "Blessed be the Lord my God, by the Lord my God be Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Well, there you have it. Noah. All right, from here on, we're fixing to have some genealogies, Tower of Babel, and pretty soon here we're going to get to Abraham, or Abram before he's known, and the story will take off. So you're going to be looking at this Sunday afternoon. So I hope you had a great Easter, and I'll see you next time. Peace.